Hello and welcome to Dagon. This is a really fun, interactive narrative experience of H.P. Lovecraft's story of the same name, Dagon. If you like the story and you liked, or you have never seen the story, this is a fun way of how they present it, and I really enjoyed it overall. But without further ado, I'm going to hop right into the game. Dagon is a faithful, interactive adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's work, focused on story and atmosphere. You will not find difficult choices, action sequence, or inventory management here, and movement is limited to progressing through locations along with the plot.
I am writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
During the game, you will encounter interactive elements. Some of them will allow you to continue your journey. Others reveal interesting facts about the original short story, its historical background, and the author. Alright. Some of the trivia is hidden. In order to find these secrets, focus your eyes and look for the elder sign. Okay, secrets? Oh, that's going forward. The Seeker! Lovecraft's letters. As to letters, my case is peculiar. I write such things exactly as easily and as rapidly as I would utter the same topics in conversation. Indeed, epistolary expression is when me largely replacing conversation, as my condition of nervous prostration becomes more and more acute. I cannot bear to talk much now, and am becoming as silent as the spectre himself. My loquacity, it extends itself on paper. H.P. Lovecraft's to Ryan Hart, Cleaner, December 23rd, 1917. Throughout his life, Lovecraft penned around 100,000 letters to his friends and fans, out of which about 10% survive to this day. Wow. But his tendency to endless correspondence was relatively late growth. In youth, I scarcely did any letter writing. Thanking anybody for a present was so much of an ordeal that I would rather have written a 259 postal or a 20-page treatise on the rings of Saturn. Selected letters 1929 to 1931. Lovecraft would often skip meals to afford postage. Collections of his correspondence have been published in various books, and selected letters can be found online. Some readers consider them his most important legacy. You can read the discovered trivia immediately or go back to them later. In the main menu, turn off displaying trivia if you find that the feature distracts you from the story. This can be changed anytime in options. Yeah, I want to see it. I want to read about this. This is going to be like a lot of reading, it seems like. Which I'm fine with, just so you're aware. But I don't think there's anything else. On the ceiling. Gamers don't look up. That doesn't seem like it. Doesn't seem like we can move. Move the camera like this. Arrow keys. Okay. Again.
Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below. Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate. When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
Sign. Signs. Any signs? Fire. Doesn't look like that we have anything. We have, looks like no body either. Morphine. Morphine entered into the use in the 19th century and was routinely administered to treat severe pain during the American Civil War and World War I. It was also sold without restrictions until 1914. Morphine became more popular after the invention of the hypodermic syringe around 1854. Frederick Sterner, who first isolated the substance, originally named it morphium, after Morpheus, the Greek god associated with dreams. At the time when Dagon was published, morphine abuse, known as soldier's disease, already posed a big problem in the United States. Cool plant. And guess we continue.
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
This light. Oh, this is cool. Oh, now we can move around. That's to move forward. Found it. Lovecraft and the Great War. Dagon was written around a month after the United States entered World War I. Lovecraft was actively interested in its course. He composed many poems in which he gave encouragement to soldiers and commented on the events unfolding in Europe. He tried to enlist in the army, which he mentioned in one of the letters to Reinhardt. Some time ago, impressed by my entry uselessness in the world, I resolved to attempt enlistment despite my almost invalid condition. I argued that if I choose a regiment soon to depart for France, my sheer nervous force, which is not inconsiderable, might sustain me till a bullet or a piece of shrapnel could more conclusively and effectively dispose of me. Oh. But even though he passed the physical exam, his mother prevented him from going to war. She was threatened to go to any length, legal or otherwise, if I do not reveal all the ills which unfit me from the army. I am Providence, the life and times of H.P. Lovecraft. Anything over here? Nothing? Another cool picture. Okay.
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation. So that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
Secrets. I know this is a short game too. It's supposed to be like around 30 minutes because it's just basically this. I thought this seemed really interesting and looked really cool. Like, look at this. This looks so pretty. And an interesting way to show the story. So I thought, why not? Give it a try. It sparked my interest. The Huns were Central Asian nomads who established a dominion in Europe and invaded the Roman Empire in the 5th century AD. They were known as brutal, deadly warriors in masses of quick raids, who also developed powerful bows, lassos, and early siege weapons. During World War I, the British used the word Hun as a synonym for Germans. in order to emphasize their brutality. However, the term originated when the German Emperor Wilhelm II gave a speech to his troops on the 27th July 1900 before they embarked to China. Should you encounter the enemy, he will be defeated. No quarter will be given, prisoners will not be taken, whoever falls into our hands is forfeited. Just as 1,000 years ago, the Huns under their king, Attila! That's it! I know this word ancient. I know this name I mean. Oh my god. Made a name for themselves. One that even today makes them seem mighty in history and legend. May the name German be affirmed by you in such a way in China that no Chinese will ever again dare to look cross-eyed at the German. The refusal to take prisoners was a clear breach of the law and customs of war adopted during the first convention of 1899. That was rough even for me, oh my god.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors, that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone in a small boat with water and provisions for a good length of time.
Home? Stay in the boat? Side of the boat? No? Must be something. I don't think I see anything. It's just this. Alright.
When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings. Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator. Of the longitude, I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight.
This is pretty... Oh, click the moon to move forward. The sounds! That's so cool. It's in the sky. I actually have a book. Many books, but one particular book. A big one. There's the complete collection of all of H.P. Lovecraft's stories, from like his shorter stories that he published in newspapers to like the bigger ones. And I remember when I first got it, like every time it rained, I needed to read the book because it just felt so fitting. It raining, you hear the raindrops hitting the window, and meeting H.P. Lovecraft with like a nice tea. It was beautiful. I love moments like that. I should do that again actually, next time it rains. Break it out. Well, I'm not like the biggest fan of the author. His work was really interesting. Like all of his stories were really cool. There's one about like a cave that like stood out to me, and like it left such a creepy impression. But it was so good. Alright, time to move forward.
The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land.
Nothing on the bag. Let's have a move forward. Found you. The turn to short stories. Dagon was written in July 1917 and first published in 1919 in The Vagrant, an amateur magazine focused on the supernatural. The story is the first of his stories that introduce an element from the Cthulhu mythos. Dagon is South. A pagan cult worshipping Dagon later appears in The Shadows over Innsmouth, one of Lovecraft's most popular works. Yeah, I will submit that one. In 1917 is also the year when he wrote The Tomb, a story about Jervis Dudley, a daydreamer who discovers a mysterious mausoleum in the woods by his house and became obsessed with it. These two works marked Lovecraft's return to short stories written after he burned most of his attempts at the genre 9 years prior and decided to concentrate on poetry. Lovecraft stated that it was his friend William Paul Cook, a literary publisher and critic, who convinced him to start writing weird fiction again. Anything else?
But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue.
About my eyes.
The change happened whilst I slept. Its details I shall never know, for my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
Oh my! Does I move forward? What happened? We're just staring at the blue sky. Now look where we are. Oh my. No way.
When at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see, and in which my boat lay grounded some distance away. Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished. For there was in the air and in the rotting soil a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core. The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish and of other less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain. Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity. There was nothing within hearing and nothing in sight save a vast reach of black slime, yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear. The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
Let's move forward. We don't want to do that yet. Oh, you have that. Anything else? It seems like it's either one or the other with this, so. Okay. Right, before we do anything. This looks so cool. The origins of Dagon. Dagon seems to be inspired by Fishhead, a short novel by Irvin S. Cobb, about unnatural affinities between a hybrid idiot and the strange fish of an isolated lake. Supernatural horrors in literature, H.P. Lovecraft. and Lovecraft's dream about a strange island emerging from the ocean and him crawling in the ooze that covered the surface. I dreamed that a whole hideous crawl and can yet feel the ooze sucking me down. In defense of Dagon, H.P. Lovecraft. Lovecraft's interest in the topic stemmed from his aversion to fish and sea smells. In his own words, I have hated fish and feared the sea and everything connected with it since I was 2 years old. But I cannot recall what earlier experience gave me such a profound and lasting aversion to the sea and seafood. The Dwelling in Darkness, Lovecraft, 1927. Alright, let's keep going. Ooh, the sounds, no!
As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position.
Oh yeah?
Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths.
What is that back there? Pulsating.
So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, straining my ears as I might. Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
What is that? Oh my. Found it. Easy. The mystery of volcanic islands. Volcanic eruptions sometimes result in the creation of islands. Most of them were transient and erode after some time, but some prove permanent. The floating porous rock created when superheated pressure rock is ejected from a volcano can move across long distances and transport barnacles and macroalgae that cling to it. In 2001, rafts pumice created during the eruption of a volcano near Tonga eventually reached Australia. That's supposed to be that? I'm guessing so. Anything else? No? Alright.
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens. As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time.
Time to go.
That night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea and possible rescue.
Doesn't look like there's secrets. Hopefully I'm not missing any. Pretty! Tentacles flailing, the moon behind it. Gorgeous. Alright.
On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease. The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
I couldn't imagine the smell right now with everything around you. It would be overpowering after a while. Anything on the landscape? Doesn't look like it. Okay. Sounds. No.
All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert.
That. What is that? That does not look of this earth. Oh, wow. That doesn't either. Oh my god. Do you see any twig-like symbol? What it's called? Elder symbol. That's it. Oh, hi, son. Do you hold any secrets for me? No? God, this dirt looks very sparkly. Oh, more. Oh no! Poor baby! No. Anything? Anything? No? 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 Alright. Closer we go.
That night,
Ow.
I encamped, and on the following day still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
It's definitely closer. Oh, it's right here. Anything else? Alright. The horrors of the ocean. The creator of the Cthulhu mythos and the fictional underwater city of Raya was convinced that life could not exist at the bottom of the ocean because the water pressure would make it uninhabitable. Today we know that the darkest depths of the ocean are home to many peculiar organisms. The deepest dwelling fish we have discovered so far, the Mariana snailfish, can live about 8,000 meters, more than 26,000 feet below the ocean's surface, in never-ending darkness and hellishly crushing pressures, hundreds of times stronger than those found at sea level. Wow. Upon glancing at the modern photos of deep-sea creatures such as the anglerfish, I hate anglerfish, it's so creepy. Finding Nemo scarred that fish for me. The hang-tooth or the viperfish and the truly Lovecraftian characteristic, it is hard not to find some irony in this. I actually really want to look up what a Mariana snailfish looks like. I thought they would be more horrifying, to be honest, but they're actually quite adorable. And they have little wings. What's that? They are fun-shaped. I like it. Alright, let's keep going.
By the fourth evening, I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance. An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill. I know not why my dreams were so wild that night, but ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain.
Gibbous, one of my favorite words.
I was awake in a cold
Just fun to say.
perspiration, determined to sleep no more. Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again. And in the glow of the moon I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day. Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy. Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
Oh, that's moving forward. Oh. the loner. Contrary to popular opinion, Lovecraft was not an ever-frowning, eccentric, grumpy loner. He considered himself to be a person who appreciated humor. Moreover, he would often meet with friends in his apartment or at various cafes in Brooklyn, and Manhattan. At times, his social life was so intensive, his work would suffer for months. There was a point when he finally decided he needed to put an end to daily meetings and loitering in New York cafeterias and restored to hiding at home and reading with the main room light turned off, pretending he wasn't there whenever a friend knocked on his door. He also had another method of deterring his guests, which involved greeting them in a bathrobe with an unmade bed visible in the background and piles of paper scattered across the floor. Iconic. That's something I would do.
I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me. But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon, whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine. I felt myself on the edge of the world.
Oh, wow.
Peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night. Through my terror ran curious reminiscences of Paradise Lost and of Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined.
Anything? Doesn't look like it.
Ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent, whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual.
What's that blue light, though? Didn't look like there's anything again.
Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath, gazing into the Stygian deeps where no light had yet penetrated. All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me. An object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon.
Also, the guy who, or whoever is doing the voice of the character here, has such a nice voice for this kind of storytelling. I don't think I see anything. Moon. It's the moon. Alright. Yeah. Keep going.
That it was merely a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself. But I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature. A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express.
Elder sign or symbol? Please show yourself if you're here. And I'm about to move forward. Yeah, I'm about to move forward.
For despite its enormous magnitude and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith, whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures. Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined my surroundings more closely.
There's something lurking in the darkness.
The moon, now near the
water?
zenith, shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm, and revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope. Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the Cyclopean monolith, on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures.
I feel like I'm missing signs. Am I not? Alright.
The writing was in a system of hieroglyphics unknown to me and unlike anything I'd ever seen in books, consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like. Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world. But whose decomposing forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain. It was the pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound.
Ooh, Cosmic Horror Scholar. Find half of the trivia pieces hidden in the game. Nice! Storytelling methods. Dagon contains many themes and storytelling methods that Lovecraft developed in his later works, such as telling a story through carvings, as the Mountains of Madness and Nameless City, journals and character notes, The Shadow Out of Time, The Hunter of the Dark, Islands Emerging from the Ocean, The Call of Cthulhu, or fictional beings and deities based on real events and mythologies, Mygo and the Whispers in Darkness. It also considered the origins of the popular Cthulhu mythos. Some of Lovecraft's other stories are conclude in a manner of similar to Dagon, but let's skip the details in order not to spoil the ending.
Plainly visible across the intervening water, on account of their enormous size, were an array of bas-reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a doré. I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men.
Oh?
Though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto, or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the waves as well.
Like the one you're currently at.
Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail, for the mere remembrance makes me grow faint. Grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a Bulwer. They were damnably human in general outline, despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips, glassy, bulging eyes, and other features less pleasant to recall. Curiously enough, they seem to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background.
Oh, what a critique at this moment.
For one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than himself. I remarked, as I say, their grotesqueness and strange size, but in a moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe. Some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestor of the Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born.
Oh, I hear sound. Alright.
Awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist, I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me. Then, suddenly, I saw it.
So what? Oh.
With only a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface, the thing slid into view above the dark waters. Vast, Polyphemus-like and loathsome, it darted like a stupendous monster of nightmares to the monolith.
Oh my!
About which it flung its gigantic scaly arms, the while it bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sounds. I think I went mad then. Of my frantic ascent of the sloping cliff, and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember little.
Oh. We're running, I guess, but I want to look for secrets. Doesn't look like there's secrets here. Alright.
I believe I sang a great deal and laughed oddly when I was unable to sing.
Oh, cool. Let's go forward. Oh, we're back at the whale. Oh god, what scared me like that game? Badoo. See if there's anything there.
I have indistinct recollections of a great storm sometime after I reached the boat. At any rate, I know that I heard pearls of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods. When I came out of the shadows, I was in a San Francisco hospital, brought thither by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean. In my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention. Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing. Nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe.
The journalist. Lovecraft was a prominent figure in the world of amateur journalism. In 1950, he started publishing his own journal called The Conservative, which included political and social commentary, poetry, short stories, and literary criticism written by him and other authors. Howard was a skilled wordsmith, but he also took criticisms to heart, which resulted in his decision to step away from writing poetry and concentrate on weird fiction again. For the first time since his teenage years, Dagon, published in 1919, is one of the short stories written during that period. In this excerpt from The Conservative, the master of horror fiction explains his attitude towards warfare and the idea of world peace. Why any sane human being can believe in the possibility of universal peace is more than conservative can fathom. Should the entire civilized world agree simultaneously to disarm, one or more nations would undoubtedly retain secret armaments and at the proper time take advantage of their more altruistic and less astute contemporaries in a wild career of conquest against unarmed victims. No country or even can be above warfare until the basic impulses of the human animal shall have miraculously changed. Yeah, this is what I meant by newspaper. Where you publish Dagon, the short stories. I have like all of them, and plus a couple of his bigger works earlier. So I was wrong, but I just wanted to point that out from an earlier point I made. Okay. No. Aha, there was more. The atheist. Lovecraft considered himself an atheist and absolute materialist, which he attributed partially to his early childhood interest in astronomy and science in general. In his own words, I am indeed an absolute materialist so far as actual beliefs go, with not a shred of credence in any form of supernaturalism, religion, spiritualism, transcendentalism, metamorphosis, and immortality. All I say is that I think it is damned unlikely that anything like a central cosmic will, a spirit world, or an eternal survival of personality exists. They are the most preposterous and unjustified of all the guesses which can be made about the universe, and I am not enough of a hair splitter to pretend that I don't regard them as errant and negligible moonshine. In theory, I am an agnostic, but pending the appearance of a radical evidence, I must be classed partially and provisionally as an atheist. Oh, there's more! Oh shit! In defense of Dagon. In 1921, Lovecraft released a series of 3 essays. The Defense Reopens, The Defense Remained Open, and Final Words. Later published as a collection titled In Defense of Dagon, in which he rebuked a series of criticism directed at his work. Some notable quotes: I paint what I dream and will let the public settle the rest amongst themselves. Mr. Monday asked the raison d'être. How do you say it? Raison d'être. Alright. Raison d'être. So Simon's saying that wrong. Of Dagon. I will give it purely and simply a reproduce a mood. Its object is the simplest in all art portrayal. The physical horrors of war, no matter how extreme and unpredictable, hardly have a bearing on the entirely different realm of supernatural horror. Ghosts and still ghosts. The mind can get more thrills from unrealities than some realities. In the essay, Lovecraft touches upon the topics of atheism, materialism, and the quest for truth and the love of science. Let me drink for a second. Wires. I was like, what is that hanging from the ceiling?
Once I sought out a celebrated ethnologist and amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god.
How do we move forward without just so no? Okay. Oh, this is a nice room. Dagon. was the main deity in the Philistines' worship throughout the Middle East as the ancient god of fertility and crops. In Hebrew, the word Dagon was a common noun for grain. The rulers of Akkad, Mesopotamia. Sorry, I'm saying that wrong. Probably saying that wrong, to be honest. Choose him as the patron saint of their war conquests. He also appeared as the judge of the dead in the Assyrian poem and the underworld prison warder in one of the Babylonian texts. He is often mistakenly taken for a fish god due to the wrong interpretations of his name, as in Hebrew the word dag means fish. In H.P. Lovecraft's work, Dagon is an underwater deity ruling over the deep ones, a humanoid race with fish traits that resides in the ocean. He is worshipped by a secret cult called the Eccentric Order of Dagon. Anything else? Any more secrets? Doesn't seem like it. Yeah, it didn't seem like it. Okay. Whee!
But soon perceiving that he was hopelessly conventional, I did not press my inquiries.
August Derleth and the Cthulhu Mythos. August Derleth was an American writer and anthropologist. He also befriended Lovecraft and published many of his works through his company, Arkham House. Although he's greatly contributed to the popularization of the author's work after his death, he is surrounded by numerous controversies. One of his most questionable decisions involving introducing the good versus evil doctrine to the Cthulhu mythos, which contrasted with Lovecraft's view of the world and his approach to cosmic horror. As a result, the author's work was often misunderstood and misrepresented in today's culture. It is also worth noting that Lovecraft was never really interested in creating a mythology, and the term Cthulhu mythos was coined by Derleth after the author left the mortal plane. The Marketer. Lovecraft's attempt to find a job in 1925 were influenced by advice he received from friends. Among others, he started freelancing for a marketing magazine where he would write announcements and commercials. Feel free to judge his copywritten skills for yourself. From an ad for Curtis Woodwork embraces both the usual structural units and the contributions built-in or permanent furniture, such as bookcases, dresses, buffet, and cupboards. Every model is conceived and created with the purest art, ripest scholarship, and mellowest craftsmanship, which an energetic enterprise can commend, and made a conform richly to the architecture of each peculiar type of home. The cost considerable, the quality is amazing low, and trades work on the individual pieces prevents any substitution for careless contractors. God, I've been reading so much, I can feel it in my nose and throat. And plus I'm slipping up on every little word. It happens when you read so much. Oh. Okay, that's moving forward. Anything else? It doesn't seem like there's anything else. Oh, hi. Oh. The scientist. These days, the word scientist is a widely accepted term, but at the time Dagon was published, it was subject to a wide debate. After the author used it in the story, critiques pointed out that man of science was a more appropriate term for employ. He admitted, in the defense of Dagon, that if Dagon were to be reprinted, he would indeed use the phrase they suggested. Scientist was coined by an analog to artist, to be used when referencing those studying different branches of science. Yet in the 19th and early 20th centuries, scientific researchers in Great Britain and the United States were of the opinion that man of science resembled the term man of letters, was the only proper choice. Among other things, it was gender specific, indicating that science was an endeavor to be pursued by only one sex. The term scientist became more accepted only after World War II, and man of science started fading into obscurity as an old-fashioned synonym. Oh my god, the sounds. Alright.
It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see the thing. I tried morphine, but the drug has given only transient surcease and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave. So now I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow men.
Hopefully I don't have to cut this out for YouTube. I might have to cut this out for YouTube. I don't know. YouTube gets mad for this kind of stuff. Oh! Lovecraft on tobacco and alcohol. Lovecraft hated tobacco, even though he used to smoke when he was 12 in order to look and feel like an adult. In his correspondence with Franz Reinhardt, he claimed that he quit as soon as he started wearing long pants. He also had a very strong opinion about alcohol, as evidenced in his letter to Zelia Brown, dated 13th February 1928. As for the matter of drinking, I have never tasted intoxicating liquor and never intend to. Having a strong aesthetic, disgust at anything which blunts or coarsens the delicate natural equipoise of the evolved human intellect and imagination, drinking excited my personal repugnance, hence I don't drink. Let the herd do what they will. I rather in favor of prohibition, the prohibition of any one antisocial force as well as any other. Interesting. Love the fishy looking wallpaper too. Oh, look at that! Elder sign. At another house where people were stirring, he asked questions about the gods, and rather they danced often upon Lyrion. But the farmer and his wife would only make the elder sign and tell him the way to near an altar, the dream quest of unknown. Elder sign is protective symbols that can be found in various works of pop culture, usually represented by a 5-pointed star with an eye flame symbol in the center. For example, in games inspired by H.P. Lovecraft writings, it is supposed to be warded away all kinds of cosmic horrors. However, this is a later version of the sign created by the author's friend, writer August Derleth. In one game, we have used the original symbol, a design by Lovecraft, in the form of a 6-pointed branch, which he sometimes included in letters to his friends. Interesting. Okay.
Often, I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm. This I ask myself but ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision in reply. I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed, worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite. I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down into their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind. Of a day when the land shall sink and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium.
Cool.
The end is near. I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense slippery body lumbering against it.
I don't see any symbols. Oh, we blocked the door. There must be a symbol. There must be, right? Look like it.
It shall not find me. God, that hand! The window! The window!
Oh, I get to move. Oh no. Thank you for playing! We hope you enjoy immersing yourself in our little pool of cosmic horror. We would appreciate you take a moment and rate Dagon. Yeah, it was really good! Like how they showed the story in such a fun way. Very interactive. I really enjoyed. It was really good. I had like a good time, and it was really short too. I know the story itself is short, but like we missed one. No, oh, it's right before journalist storytelling methods. Slower. Oh, that sucks. Just one too. But yeah, I leave a link in the description for this game. As well. It's free, but it's really fun. It's really short, and if you want to have you go at Dagon yourself, I really recommend it. It was really fun. I liked how everything looked, and the story, and finding the secrets, and the voice acting with the main character. But yeah, overall I really enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, please hit a like, and while you're down there, please hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate either interaction, regardless. If you don't have to, if you don't want to. Yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.